Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to be here. Welcome to 3 Ways to Know if you're ready to write your book. I know you want to know. That's why you're here. Whether you are watching live or catching this as a replay, I'm Shana Hartman, and I'm super excited to host this little workshop for you because sometimes as a business owner, we think about these things, we get great ideas like, hey, I want to write my book. But we're not sure if that is the right path. Well, as an embodied writing coach, as a body mind method coach, I am here to support you in really getting super clear on whether a book is even on your trajectory and whether it should be. And if it is, the best ways to get started. Before we get started on everything, I just want to take a moment and honor where I am in the area where I am presenting this from. I just honor the outright owners of the original land, the Catawba tribe that are in this area. And I just want to give thanks for everything that helped create and make this possible. That's a really important part of what we do, is just to recognize and honor those who have gone before us and allowed me to be here as the human I am today, presenting this to you. So let's dive in. I want to make sure first that you are absolutely in the right place. So you know you're in the right place if you are a heart-centered business owner or a leader of some sort. You're doing all the things in life and in business. You've got stories and experiences that define you. And you find yourself saying something like these same beautiful, powerful messages, ideas, strategies, and stories over and over with the people that you work with. And I'm going to guess that at some point you've said something like, you know what, write that down because that's going to be a chapter in the book one day more than once. So if that is you, then you are definitely in the right place. I want to talk you through a little bit about what you can expect in this. We're going to be together. I'm going to try to keep this to around 30 minutes because if you are a business owner or wanting to write your book, you've got a limited amount of time in your day. And so I want to honor that. And so what we're going to cover are three main things. First is whether writing a book is actually even right for you, aligned for you. We're going to talk about how to know what your book might be about. And if a book does feel aligned for you, we're going to talk about what are the next best steps. What do you need to do next? So I want to take a moment and just pause and invite you to make the most of this time. So if you haven't already, go ahead and move yourself into a quiet place, limit distractions. So pop a movie in for the kiddos or head somewhere where you can really just be distracted, put your phone down for a little bit. Or if you're watching on your phone, try to keep other devices away at this time. Use some headphones. I sometimes get expressive, sometimes may slip out some expressive words. So use your headphones if you need to be mindful of that. Make sure you write things down. So go ahead and grab what I call a day book or open up a document next to this presentation if you want, if that feels good. But I definitely want to make sure you get what you came for and you write things down so that you can walk away having a clear path moving forward. And ultimately, I want you to keep an open mind. I am not your average writer. I'm not your average writing coach, and you're going to learn more and more about that. And so I just want you to keep an open mind to the ideas that are going to be presented here today. So I want to start by just sharing some interesting statistical information around publishing and the books that are out there and available. Fortune.com shared that in 2022, of the year's 200 best-selling business books, only 17, yes, you read that, only 17 were written by women. And even fewer were written by women of color. That is 8%. And if we go with women of color, that's even less than 8% of those best-selling business books. And I'm just here to go ahead, not get ahead of myself, to say that it's time to disrupt these narratives in the personal growth and business book world. I'm personally tired of seeing the same pale, male, stale faces on those covers. And so if that is something that excites you, then again, you are in the right place and I welcome you. So does this sound like you? Do you find yourself reading a ton of personal growth, self-help, or not your average business books, articles, and blogs? Are you that person that's always searching and reading and growing? Raise your hand. That's me too. Have you ever said, my life, my experiences, my strategies, you know what? Like, I could totally fill up a book. Have you said that before? Do you get really excited about the possibility of having your story, your core messages from your business out there in the world for just about anybody to access and read? Does that excite you? And are you ready to see more books that represent your life, your experiences, your perspectives that you bring to the table in business and in life? If that sounds like you, again, I want you to know you're in the right place. And does this also sound like you? When you think of writing your book, you get paralyzed with fear, uncertainty, you get a little bit overwhelmed, disoriented, perplexed, unclear. And ultimately, you're not really sure where to go, and you just wind up not really doing anything. If those sounded like you, I want to take a moment and bring you back to yourself. And I wanted to give you a little imagine this situation. So if it feels comfortable and safe, I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to just honor the fact that you're here, that you're taking this time to just explore what is showing up around this idea of writing a book. And I want you to actually think of the most recent book that you've read that really touched you, or maybe it's one that's like your go-to. You may have read it years ago. Maybe you reread it every year or so. But just kind of pull the image of that book up in front of you. And yes, I'm closing my eyes right along with you. So if you're keeping your eyes open, you're seeing me with mine closed. I want you to see the book in front of you. I want you to see the pages, see yourself scrolling through it, see where you were sitting when you were reading it. And remember how you felt when you read that paragraph, that page, that chapter, that line, that word. And you were like, oh, damn, that is powerful. Remember the feelings that showed up for you. Bring them forth. Notice where they show up in your body. Maybe you get a tingle down your arms. Maybe you get some heat across your chest. Maybe butterflies kind of in your stomach. To just take that in, that moment with that book. And now I want you to imagine and picture someone else on a similar journey, having a similar experience. Maybe they're curled up in their favorite place in their home or office, and they're sitting there with a book in front of them. It's having the same kind of impact. They're reading those paragraphs, those pages, those chapters, those sentences, those words, and going, damn, that's powerful. Really see them and notice their body expression. Notice how they're a smile across their face, or maybe astonishment. They're finally being heard. They're finally being seen. Someone is sharing a story. Someone is touching them in a way that they never knew that they could be touched. All through the pages of this book. And I want you to take a moment and see them closing the cover, finishing that book. And when you look down at that cover, it's yours. They just finished your book. Notice how that feels. Notice what shows up. Just taking all of that in. Nice deep inhale and exhale. Go ahead and wiggle your fingers and toes. Open your eyes. Yeah, that's the journey that we're on, friends. I'm excited to get started. So let's dive in. Because ultimately you're sitting here, you have a choice. You've felt this book tug before. You can continue to just sit in that indecision of like, maybe one day, or you can move forward as we're going to do today and see what's possible. So I'm excited to help you with that. Because when you get this, when you start to explore what it might be like to write your book, your connection to yourself deepens. Yes, this is about sharing with others, but it's also about sharing and connecting back with you. Your connection to your core message and values in business and life deepen as well. And ultimately, you get to explore how your message can work with and for you in these really cool and new, exciting ways, like client connections, passive income, leaving a legacy, creating change, and so much more. So I want to pause and tell you a little bit about me. Hi, I'm Shayna. I am an embodied writing coach. I'm a certified body mind method coach, and I'm a coachee. I am continuing on my journey, and I get coached as well. I'm a teacher of writing. I've been in that field for over 20 years. I'm an author of This Is the Year You Write Your Book and a few other publications and articles that are out there. I'm also the creator and speaker in the podcast, The Written Compass. I definitely mom and wife so hard, or as hard as I can, holding my boundaries. I also use writing as an embodiment tool. I've been writing in some way, shape, or form, a lot of times just for me since I was really little. And I also have grown to love actively disrupting narratives. When I was a teacher and English professor, I didn't do things the way that everybody else did. And I saw the discrepancies in judging people based on their language practices and ultimately who they were and where they came from. And that shit was just not cool. And I did my best and continue to do my best to support others in sharing their unique message, because it's important to get new narratives out there. So I'm here to support other heart-centered business owners in sharing their message in a book. So I want to start with some common questions. The core of what we're going to cover is really 3 common questions that I get when people start to explore whether they should write their book or not. Question 1 is, should I write a book? That's the core question. Should I do this? Is this something that's even possible for me? And I want to share this quick little statistic from Alexa Bigwarf. She wrote Ditch the Fear and Just Write It. She said 80% of the population wants to write a book. Less than 2% actually do it. So you're not alone if that's a question that has been showing up for you. But here's the key. One of the ways you can know whether you should write your book, if you're ready to do it, is to make this very first important shift. And that is to simply decide. Well, I say simply, but it's easier said than done, right? Or you would have done it already. Here's what Ken Dunn has to say about writing your book as an entrepreneur. By writing a book, entrepreneurs can build their personal brand, establish their expertise, and build trust with potential clients, and do so more effectively than they can with blog articles and social media alone. We're going to explore this impact, this potential, and let this be part of how you make this decision. I'm going to stop clicking so fast. So let's ask yourself a few questions, and you may pause this and do a little bit of writing around each of these. Do I have a message to share? If you are a business owner, if you have something that you deliver to other humans, then there is a message in that. There is a core foundation. It might be your mission. It might be your values. And I'm going to guarantee you that if you have been helping people in the world, it is important. But you can ask yourself, is this an important message? The answer is yes. Another thing you can ask yourself is, would it be cool? Do I want to solidify and legitimize my message? Sometimes when we've been working, I am a writing coach and I've been working for a couple of years now. And it's nice to just get down in one place my core messages. It helps me solidify it. It helps me show up better for my clients and support them with my program materials, my emails, my social media posts, all of the things that I do in my business to share that message. Having it in a book helps really solidify it, right? And it gives some legitimacy to it when it's in that book. Do I want to build credibility? Yes, please. Anytime, if you are in a field where you need to get clients, you need to connect with people, part of that, way you do that is by establishing your credibility. So a book can absolutely be a part of that. So ask yourself that, is that important? Do I want to grow my connections, my reach, my audience? Is that important to you? And ultimately, do I want to leave a legacy? One of my clients, she talks about how her son, her 2-year-old, he's just 2 now, is really the fodder for her book that she is creating. And it's such a powerful why behind her that it really keeps her writing fuel going. So her son is going to get to read that, and their children and so on. Do you want to leave a legacy for your family in your field? Do you want to be known in this unique way that a book can provide? Answering those questions can really help you decide, ultimately, is a book for me or is it not? And here's the reframe, okay? Rather than just thinking about whether I should write a book or not, I want you to start to realize and reframe how sharing your message provides possibility. So writing your book provides you with a tangible way to get those core messages in your business, the concepts, the strategies, the tools, those things you're talking to people about all the time. It helps you get them in a really tangible space. A book is really accessible. Writing a book can also provide, yes, there's an initial upfront effort, although I'm going to talk about how your content is very much already created in many ways, but it can provide an avenue for income that can work for you after you've created. So it becomes a passive income stream. And the possibilities, depending on how far you want to take it and lots of different elements around publishing and marketing and things like that. I mean, you're talking about different levels starting at 500, 2,000 up per month of additional revenue. And again, that's just a starting point. So if that sounds exciting for you, I really want you to reframe and think about and feel into that possibility. It also is a way to start a conversation around your amazing, passionate ideas, right? If you've been in a book club or if you've read something, you go off and you say, oh my gosh, I'm reading this amazing book. Do you know this person? Do you know what they're saying, what they're sharing? It just creates this conversation that you are a part of, but in a really cool way because it's your book, right? I love thinking about books as this dialogue. Yes, they're kind of this static thing that's printed or read on a Kindle, but they're really dynamic because other people get to read them and connect to their story and then share that story and then share your story. And it just keeps going on and on. It's really cool conversation starter and you don't even have to be there. So what? Ultimately, answer to that number one question is to decide. Should I write my book? Decide and then start. Leaving your legacy is powerful. We cannot deny that. Support and accountability are going to be big motivators. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to get started and what next steps are. But ultimately, I want you to feel into this. And I'm going to give you some writing tools. Yes, you can screenshot these questions, or you can write them down and use them at a later time, or you can pause the video and do them now. So I want you to feel into what is it going to feel like for you when your book is out in the world? That's going to help support your decision. What do others get to receive when your message, your core message is out there? How will you use your book? What shows up? What do you get excited about? Is it going to be for lead generation? Is it going to help support other copywriting that you need going on in your business? Is it passive income? Is it simply a program resource for your clients to use? Is it just something that you just downright want to do because of those things we talked about earlier? Legitimizing your message, starting a conversation, leaving a legacy. So do some writing around those things and ultimately decide. The second question I often get is, what should my book actually be about? I love this question because there's a really cool shift that we get to do. And I love doing this early on when I start to work with new clients in their embodied writing process. You already have a book. You just don't realize it. Yeah, you do. And let me show you how. First, this quote from Georgia O'Keeffe is going to support us here. Whether you succeed or not is irrelevant. Whether this book gets out necessarily is irrelevant. There's no such thing. Making the unknown known is what is important. So I want to support you in recognizing what you may not realize yet. And that is to bring some awareness to the writing you're already doing. If you are a business owner, you're in a career, you have a life, you are already writing. I promise you, it may not be in the ways that you have traditionally thought about writing, i.e. the ways that school taught you is what counts as writing, but you are already writing in your life. So let's think about it. Let's just go just the past few days. You could take this obviously to the past months, years, etc. I want you to take a moment, and I'd love for you to do this right now. Pause the video, write down all the writing you completed in the past few days. And I want you to remember that it all counts. So I want you to, have I been writing text messages? Have I done some social media posts? Have I written some emails? Have I done my newsletter, my monthly newsletter or weekly newsletter to my clients? Have I created program content, or does program content exist? What about landing pages, checkout pages, funnels? And what about just good old-fashioned journaling, writing for you? Write down every kind of writing moment that you have had just in the past few days, and then take a look at all that is there. Now, if you go and take that, and of course, we can weed through the things that may or may not be relevant to what your book might be about, you're going to start to see a shape. You're going to start to see some common threads and potential topics for what your book should be about. So what I want you to do is take this even further, right? I want you to start with what you have. That's my big so what around that question of what should my book be about? Conduct a content assessment. Again, if you're a business owner, you have a lot of content already out there. So go and see what you've got. Do you have a series of nurture emails? Do you have landing pages that describe what it is you do and who you work with and how you help them? Do you have testimonials? Do you have your own stories that you've written and shared in social media posts? Go out and look at what you've already got. The other thing I want you to do is to write down, what do you say or do all the time with your clients? Is there a common phrase or common ideas or common questions that you ask them when you start to work with them, in the middle of working with them, at the end of working with them? Write all of those things down. I did this recently with a new client, and just by talking about, okay, let's say a new client comes to you. She's a movement therapist and a coach. And I said, what are the first things that you do? And she shared some of those questions that she asked. And we started to piece those out. I had my big whiteboard going. We started to piece those out. And I said, okay, let's break this down even further to kind of recreated some sub questions. I said, why do you ask her these things? Why do you say these things? And she shared what that is. So we wrote that down. And then I went through all of those questions and all of those subtopics and questions and reasons why. And I said, if I asked you to write about this, how many pages do you think you would write? She was like, oh, well, that'll be like I got like 3 or 4 I could write about that, and maybe about 5 or 6 of those. And just as we worked through, we realized, holy crap, there's like half a book here. We easily got to about 60 pages just from starting with the very first thing she does when she initially meets clients. So the part around what should my book be about, I really want you to go with, what are you already doing? What are you already sharing? So write about this. Here are some questions that'll prompt you and get you going with this. What do you want your audience to know? What's that core thing that you share with them, or core messages that you share with them all the time? What happens when they know this? What starts to shift or change in their life when they know this? And then I want you to think of, what are some examples, some stories, some client testimonials, of course, protecting privacy unless you have approval. Can I write that demonstrate these ideas in action in real life? Just doing that will easily start to shed light on what your book should be about, what that core essence of you, whether it's from your business or from your life or a mix of both, that is waiting to emerge. Finally, question 3. All right, you've decided, you've started to realize, oh, wow, I see what my book could be about. So you want to write it. Now what? What do you do next? The shift here is something that may be a little bit different than what you expected. I want you to begin with you. Glennon Doyle, writer of Untamed and a lot of other amazing things. I love following her. She says this: people who aren't writers, which many of us in business don't consider ourselves writers, don't wonder if they're writers. That longing you feel, that's your invitation. So I want you to begin with that longing. And the first reframe, I'm going to give you a couple in here, is I want you to let your writing actually guide you. So first and foremost, you've decided you're ready to write your book. Your next step is to simply get started. And I want to walk you through typically what I see as the 3 phases when clients come to work with us in our embodied writing program. The first phase is like yay, I want to write a book about, you've kind of gone through step 2 that we talked about, and you've realized all the content you've got, and you're starting to see the shape of your book. You've got an idea, you're ready to go, and you are pumped. That's the first phase. And that really sustains you for a good while. Then the second phase starts to be, you're in the weeds, you're kind of writing, you're sourcing from other things you've already written, you're putting things together. and you sort of are in the weeds of the thick of the book. And here's where the lovely confusion and frustration shows up. And this is completely normal, okay? So things like, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I write? How do I know if I'm writing right, if I'm doing this right? That shows up. And so the beautiful thing we get to do here is come back to ourselves, come back to those questions that you've written about. What do I want my audience to know? What is it going to be like when my book is out there? What do others get to receive? Because that's going to be the fuel to keep your writing flame going strong. And knowing, too, that confusion and frustration is totally normal. You may think this is a linear process, and it is by far not. Writing is more like a bunch of squiggly lines going from one direction to back and forth and all over. That's why it's so great to have support, because we get to walk you through that when those confusion and frustration moments happen. Phase 3, breakthrough. So you've gone through your excitement, you've started to get content down, then the confusion and frustration shows up, you get back connected, you tap into your support from people like me, and then all of a sudden it's like the fog lifts and you can see and feel your path. I am writing my book and I'm trusting that each word gets me where I want to go. That's why it's important just to get started. Start somewhere. And I have a backwards design process that I really love to use with clients that helps take the guesswork out of that first step. The second reframe is some patterns and habits that I want you to start to adopt that's going to support you after you get started. Write something and write it often. It's kind of like exercise. It doesn't really matter what you do. You just need to do it. Remember that all writing counts. So your emails to your clients, your new program content, a module, a video that you can transcribe, a podcast episode you were on, it all counts. So let's make sure we're capturing it and using it as part of our writing process. Start to discover and play with your ideal writing time, your time to connect to yourself. For me, that's typically in the morning. I call it my meditation time. It's also often my writing time. When's going to be the best time for you? You may have to play with it, but definitely find your process and find your time. I talked about this just a minute ago, but create a backwards plan. Start with when you want this book to be in the world. When do you want this draft, or when do you want it to be published and out? And then start to walk backwards. Well, what would I need to have done in order to be ready for that? What would I need to have done in order to be ready for that? And you just walk yourself backwards. I go into great detail in this in the embodied writing programs. But as soon as you start to do that and then walk yourself from the end rather than starting at the beginning, those first steps emerge pretty quickly. When in doubt, connect back to you. Ultimately, you want to make sure that this is an aligned process and you're staying connected to you. And so when in doubt, go for a walk, do a meditation, take deep breaths, connect with someone that's going to support you so that you can stay grounded in what is the target, what is important. Find aligned support. Ultimately, we are not meant to do this process or this journey alone. And so we want to make sure that you have the support that you need. Finally, just some quick tips. Take a screenshot of this. Remember that books have no required length. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. And you ultimately get to decide how, what format, the platform, and why and where you share your book. Remember that you have a lot of your book already written as a business owner. Go and do some research about the differences between self-publishing, traditional publishing, and hybrid publishing. There are lots of opportunities now that don't just mean you have to go get an agent and shop your book around. There's so many options, and you really want to dive into what feels most aligned for you. Don't discount writing to write. Just write to write and see what shows up. I love supporting people in that. Try to quiet that critique that says, you can't write, this is bad grammar, et cetera, et cetera. Try to quiet that little part of you. And I want you to also remember that your language and your perspective matters, right? As you are doing this, make sure you are writing like you. There is only one you, and we want to honor that. Got to adjust something here for a second. Okay. Here are some of the things that my clients are writing right now. They're writing about sunsets and sparking joy. They're writing about embodied leadership. They're writing about manifesting their desires. They're doing things about disrupting the idea of being a spinster, or what it means to grow old, or what it means to be married or not married, or have kids or not. They're sharing their business methods, the core things that they share with their clients. They're putting it all together in a beautiful book. They're writing about finding self-love. I bet you, as I share those, you can start to hear and see some potential ideas and titles for you. So, the keys to getting started. Start. I know it sounds simple, but I'd love to see someone respond here and say, I started. I wrote something today, or I went and grabbed something that I've already written and got it started. Get support. I'm going to share how you can do that with me in just a moment, but get support. You need it. Get embodied. Stay connected to yourself. I am not your average writing coach. It's all about being in alignment with the core messages that needs to come out of you. I truly think we're all message beings, and I want to support you in finding yours. I want to share what Wendy talked about as she stepped into and started writing her embodied book. She said, joining the embodied writing program with Shana has brought joy back to my writing. We all have different styles of writing. And I now believe as long as I write from my heart, the words will continue to flow, grow, growth, clarity, and freedom. This is what I have received from this program. Thank you, Shana. Thank you, Wendy. I love supporting you in your book. I can't wait for it to get out. So ultimately, you are sitting here and you have a choice. What is possible when you choose your story? And I want to share one more quote and then talk about how we can get connected. So Laura Wick, founder and CEO of Body Mind Living, shares this. As somebody who has literally been writing her book for at least 5 years now, stepping into working with Shana in the Embodied Writing Program was a game changer. For the longest time, what I thought writing a book was supposed to look like really got in the way of me truly writing my book. And what I think was amazing about Shana in the process is she helped me find my way to write the book. With her coaching, she really helped me embody the message that that was asking to come through, and gave me the support that brought the words out in a way that really felt aligned. Because just writing because you think you should be writing, it discourages writing. It is not the way to aligned embodied writing. Embodied writing, when you get connected back to you, when you really feel aligned with your plan and your process that works for you, it encourages powerful writing. So just take a moment to check in with your heart, check in with the things that are showing up right now, the excitement, the terrified, whatever, the terror, excitement, all the feelings. Just notice that for a moment. Notice where you feel it in your body. And again, if you're feeling that tug, and this message has really supported you and met you where you are, then let's get clear on what's next. Head to shanahartman.com/schedule. And on this call, we're going to gain clarity on maybe what's keeping you stuck up until now, create a powerful but flexible timeline, understand what you need to do next, and ultimately determine what further support is needed. Totally transparent. If I think I can help you, I'm going to talk to you about that. If not, I'm going to make sure you have the resources you need to move forward. Thank you so much for joining me. I cannot wait to see your book out in the world because it is so needed. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Written Compass. If you are enjoying this content, do me a favor and go and review the podcast. This allows me to share and get these messages out to the people who really need them, who we want to read their books in the future. You can also go and share your thoughts and tag me at @ShanaHartman_ on Instagram. Again, this is just a way for us to get connected and share the writing love. And if you know that you are ready to write your book, that message that's been burning inside of you for a long time, then I want to talk to you. My team and I want to talk to you. Head on over to shanahartman.com and click Work with Us. From there, you'll see an application to explore and see if writing your book is your next best step.